So, one of the questions that I want to ask is why now? Why is there such a massive focus on decarbonization now? And hasn't this been talked about for quite some time? So, why is it that we are looking at it, like such a big trendy topic?
You are absolutely right. It has been in talk for quite some time. And in fact, the primary focus came, or I would say the larger focus came on these decarbonization, since the Paris Accord. After that, there was a renewed focus. Of course, whatever happened at United States, I mean, the government came, they, kind of went slow on that. We are not talking on those aspects. Those are political dimensions of this entire process. We are only talking on the actual, the domain. Now, what happens is that if you go by the climate change, the entire domain, the primary focus of uh, after the Paris Accord to reduce emission was on energy generation, on the domain which is generating energy. Now, the domain which was generating energy was essentially the electricity sector, the power sector. So there was a lot of focus that happened in the power sector. And if you see the statistics that was there about 12 years ago and what it is today, we can actually see that the contribution of oil for generating power has significantly come down. Contribution of coal has come down, and on the other hand, the contribution of gas has gone up. Now, the coal currently is somewhere around 36% as against the gas, which is about 23%, and the oil is about 3%. Now, look at it in a different perspective. Look at it not with regard to power, but with regard to energy. Now, when it comes to energy, unfortunately, to things that are known to human beings, the feedstock or the the inputs which give us energy, they are either carbon or hydrocarbon primarily. There is a little bit of nuclear and there is a small bit of renewable also. So now, if you look at that thing, what you realize is the oil typically gives about 33% energy to the world. Coal gives about 27%, and gas gives about 24%. So the energy contribution from these constituents are pretty high. And we are in oil and gas domain. So this cumulatively leads to something like 33 billion metric tons of CO2 that is emitted every year from the energy domain. But interestingly, if you then compare the ratio of this with let's say transportation, the emission going out of transportation fuel, that is just about 17%. But it is significant. What is even more interesting is that out of that 17%, the refinery contribution is just about 2%. But what is important side by side is also this, that we got to find an alternate fuel. Now, that alternate fuel could be a blend of biofuels with fossil fuel. It could be something like electrification, so that the electricity is used for mobility. It could be hydrogen. It could be a derivative of hydrogen, that is ammonia, or maybe even methanol, because methanol is something that can be created by capturing carbon dioxide and converting that into methanol. So this decarbonization focus has now shifted from electricity to generally from energy feedstocks. And that is the reason, and we are into the energy domain. So that is the reason that now this has been, it has re-emerged as a focus area, and that is why it's being looked at.
So, in the refining and petrochemicals industry, we see that one major deterrent for adopting alternative solutions for decarbonization would be the cost and availability of these solutions. So, what's your opinion on this, and what do you think can be done?
Certainly, this is again another very interesting point. If you really want to adapt to, let's say, the alternate options, what happens is that one is the cost, other is the availability of technology or the mature technology. This is a challenge, definitely. And what if you are looking at some kind of a number and all that sort of thing, I'll just give you the number for the United States, and it works out that if the United States has to really go to net zero by 2060, they have to be spending something like $10 trillion. Now, these are humongous amount of investment that needs to come in, and that investment, to make that investment, at the end of the day, from where the investment can come, the economics needs to create that investment. That means somewhere the economics only is going to be tightened to make that kind of an investment. So this is a real challenge. Now, the point comes is that I would not say that the challenge is not there, or it is so big that it is something which makes us sit up and take a notice of that. But the point is that there could be solutions, and those solutions are something like this: that when you are talking of, let us say, a general perception is that you should adapt to renewable energy. Agreed. But can you adapt to renewable energy round the clock? What I mean by round the clock is that you need power at 6 a.m. in the morning. So is the case you need power at 12, at 11 p.m. at night. So you need power all the time. You as a consumer require power. Consumer is nothing but the economics, the country, the businesses. They need power all the time. But the renewable can only generate at a defined period of time. The solar generates only about 20% of the entire 24 hours. The wind generates, again, something like 33% of the entire 24 hours, but at a different time band. So, create a hybrid situation of solar and wind together, you can get a something like 45 to 50% of the time you can get power. Agreed. But what happens to the remaining 50%? You have to still go back to what is called the fossil-based power. This is the most unfortunate scenario. Now, point is, if you want to address it, there are multiple ways. You can store energy during the daytime and reuse that energy during the nighttime. Fantastic solution. What are the technologies? Battery technologies are there. And so is the case with a couple of other technologies. However, the cost becomes a deterrent. So cost has to be taken care of. Technology has to develop, and those kind of challenges are there. Interestingly, there is also another aspect that is called pump storage system. Pump storage system is something which you can imagine that there are two large dams, water storage dams. One is at a higher elevation, the other is at a lower elevation. So what happens is that when you have a lot of green energy, renewable energy during the daytime, you pump the water from the lower elevation to the higher elevation. And during nighttime, you run a small turbine to generate that power back and feed it to the consumer points. Interesting solutions. Now, these interesting solutions are becoming, getting practiced. Now, in this case, what happens is that this is not an efficient solution technically, wherein the efficiencies are high. But the point is, if you have excess renewable energy generated during the daytime, you can always use these kind of mechanisms and therefore generate green power at night time. Now, there are such solutions which even promise that to a consumer, they can give power almost 80% of the time of the day. That means out of 24 hours, almost 22 hours you can get green power through a combination of these various solutions. What I'm trying to say here is that such solutions are not very costly. So it has to be a combination of various things, and up to the extent you can do that, that is what is required.